Good morning, everybody. I hope everybody can hear my voice and see the presentation on the screen. Excellent. So, today we're going to take a look at a very, very interesting thing. I don't know whether we have done this before, but we are going to take a look at what are meant by statements and arguments, what is meant by an argument. And then, of course, we will go through a few examples to understand how to solve questions of statements and arguments. So, before I start, a basic question, and it's my standard question of any topic. I'm sure most of us have heard the word argument, but do we actually know what it means? What do you think the word argument means? Difference of opinion. Not actually. An argument is not a difference of opinion. It's not an opposite viewpoint. It's not fighting with words. Definitely not. See, that's the problem. The way we use certain words, we actually lose their meaning. For example, it's not a counter statement. For example, we have always heard ke zyada argument mat karo. Okay, people who are who argue a lot are not liked by their friends, right? We have such a negative meaning associated with this word that we think an argument is going against somebody, an argument is a negative opinion, an argument is fighting or something, but it's not. An argument is simply trying to prove your point, right? Think about it. We say lawyers argue their own case in courts. So are they fighting or are they having a difference of opinion with somebody? No, they're simply trying to prove their point. They're either trying to prove that samne wala did it, or they're trying to prove that my client did not do it. But yes or no, the argument is always trying to prove that point. Okay, yes or no, right? If they're saying yes, they're trying to support it. If they're saying no, they're still trying to prove their own point. They are not trying to cut the other person. So it's not a counter statement. An argument is simply something which you're trying to prove. So somebody asks you a question that should this thing be done? Either you will say yes and try to prove why it should be done, or you will say no and then try to prove why it should not be done. Either statement where you're trying to prove your point is an argument made by you. So guys, argument is not something that is negative. An argument is actually something which is simply trying to prove whatever you're answering a question, right? So what happens in the exam in questions of statements and arguments? In statements and arguments, you are given a statement followed by two arguments, right? It could be a yes no, both of them could be yes, both of them could be no, does not matter. What you have to decide is which of the argument is strong, and it is possible that both of them are strong, or you are trying to prove which of them is weak, right? So it is not necessary that one will be strong and one will be weak. Both the arguments can be strong, both of them can be weak, or one of them can be strong and one of them can be weak. So remember, you are not trying to prove which of them is a stronger argument, राइट? दोनों को कंपेयर नहीं कर रहे हो आर्ग्यूमेंट में, आप ये प्रूव करने की कोशिश कर रहे हो इंडिविजुअली विच ऑफ देम इज स्ट्रांग, राइट? सो यू डोंट हैव टू कंपेयर के ये स्ट्रांग है, इसके कंपैरिजन में ये स्ट्रांग है, ऐसा कुछ नहीं है. इंडिविजुअली इज इट स्ट्रांग और नॉट, दैट्स द ओनली थिंग विच मैटर्स. सो हाउ डू वी गो अबाउट द एंटायर प्रोसेस ऑफ फाइंडिंग आउट वेदर एन आर्ग्यूमेंट इज स्ट्रांग और नॉट? उसके लिए रिक्वायरमेंट्स क्या हैं? सो first, whenever you read a question, don't get a biased answer in your mind on your own, right? You are not asked to answer the question. You have already been given answers. आपको सिर्फ इतना देखना है कि जो आंसर दिया गया है वो स्ट्रांग है या नहीं है, right? So for example, when a question is asked, should India should India develop nuclear, be developed as a nuclear power? Now इसमें देशभक्त बन के आप ये मत बोलो yes 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 no. Yes or no आपके आंसर से कोई फर्क नहीं पड़ता है. So you are not supposed to think about it. You are supposed to take a look at what argument has been given in the question and then decide is that given argument strong or weak, right? So आपके मन में होगा कि नहीं इंडिया को तो सुपर पावर बनाना ही चाहिए, लेकिन अगर नो के लिए भी स्ट्रॉन्ग आर्ग्यूमेंट है तो यू कैन से नहीं ये सब गलत है, नहीं, योर ओपिनियन इज नॉट बीइंग आस्क्ड, यू हैव टू टेक अ लुक एट the argument whether it is individually strong or not. So how do we identify a strong or a weak argument? First, if it is ambiguous, simple, or it is superfluous, that is it needs more explanation, then it cannot be a strong argument. उसका मतलब क्या है? Should India become a superpower? Yes, because this will make India great. सुनने में बड़ा अच्छा लगता है, लेकिन इस आर्ग्यूमेंट में कोई दम नहीं है. When you say yes, India should become great, first of all, what do you mean by great? How is nuclear power making anybody great? It is too ambiguous. It does not give you a clear-cut logical explanation, and it is also superfluous because it requires more arguments to make it clear, right? So, any argument which is not easy to understand or which can only be understood when it is explained a bit more, such an argument cannot be a strong argument. Similarly, if it is in the question back form, right? Supposing you say, should India be made a superpower? And the answer says, yes, why not? But yeah, why not? कोई explanation नहीं है, right? It is a question back, but it does not give you a strong reason for yes or no. So any argument which is too simple, which is in a question without logic, इसको तो पहले ही हम डिस्क्राइब कर देंगे कि ये तो weak argument. I mean, this is not a strong argument, right? After that, you need to check the correctness of an argument. An argument may seem very strong, but if it is not logically correct, if it is not factually correct, then it cannot be taken as a strong argument, right? Now, logically, factually correct का मतलब क्या है? Whatever is being said, either scientifically it is true, और बरसों से लोग मानते आ रहे हैं उस चीज को, and it has become a custom, it has become universally accepted, right? So correctness के लिए आपको चार चीजें देखनी है, more or less they are the same. First, does the argument favor an established case? Past में ये हुआ था, तो ये आर्ग्यूमेंट उस पे रिलाई कर रहा है कि yes, if I hit somebody with a stick, they will get hurt. पास्ट में भी जब किसी को डंडा पड़ा होगा तो ऑब्वियसली उसको, इफ यू ऑप्रेस पीपल दे विल रिबेल अगेंस्ट यू. हैज इट हैपेंड? यस. जहां जहां पे लोगों पे अत्याचार हुआ है, वहां वहां पे लोग अत्याचार के खिलाफ लड़े हैं. इट इज एस्टैब्लिश्ड बाय अ पास्ट केस. सो सच एन आर्ग्यूमेंट कैन बी रिलाइड अपॉन. और if the argument is permitted to be correct by experience, for example, if a doctor is giving a medical opinion about something, we will assume that it is correct because that person has experience in that field. So today, if a medical doctor tells me about the efficacy or otherwise of a COVID vaccine, then we will assume that the person's argument is true. Lekin, if a politician tells me something about a COVID vaccine, I may not take that as a strong argument because I would assume he does not have enough experience about it, right? So experience, and more importantly, relevant experience is very necessary for whenever we are talking about an argument. Third, the most common thing is common sense. Does the argument make any sense to a person who is thinking with common sense? And fourth, argument supported by prevailing notions of truth. मतलब elders should be respected. Now, इसके पीछे कोई साइंटिफिक रीजन नहीं है, लेकिन ये सदियों से हमारे देश में चलता आ रहा है कि हम एल्डर्स को रिस्पेक्ट देते हैं. सो इट मे नॉट बी साइंटिफिकली ट्रू, बट इट इज समथिंग विच हैज बीन यूनिवर्सली एक्सेप्टेड इन आवर कंट्री. So, for some argument to be correct, it has to follow at least one of these four statements, one of these four conditions. Are we together on this? Are you getting this? Did you understand it so far? यहां तक समझ में आया? Right? When we do examples, I will be referring back to these. So when we do examples, you will get individually. Don't worry about it, right? But these are four basic things. Now obviously अगर आर्ग्यू ये चार चीजें नहीं करता है तो वीक आर्ग्यूमेंट है. सो दैट इज द थर्ड स्टेप, राइट. स्टेप टू, तो आप करेक्टनेस ऑफ आर्ग्यूमेंट चेक करते हो. अब उसमें वीक कैसे हो जाएगा? अगर वो एस्टेब्लिश फैक्ट्स के खिलाफ जा रहा है, एक्सपीरियंस सपोर्ट नहीं कर रहा है, लॉजिक कॉमन सेंस सपोर्ट नहीं कर रहा है, या जो यूनिवर्सली एक्सेप्टेड फैक्ट्स हैं वो इसको सपोर्ट नहीं कर रहा है, ऑब्वियसली तो वीक होंगे ही होंगे. इन एडिशन देर आर टू मोर थिंग्स. वन, if the argument is based on an assumption or individual perception. का मतलब क्या है? I saw that when I ate pizza in the morning and then gave the exam, I got 100 out of 100. So you should always eat pizza because that improves your test scores. Is this a strong argument? Is this a strong argument कि आज सुबह मैंने पिज्जा खाया और फिर जब टेस्ट दिया तो मुझे 100 आउट ऑफ 100 आ गए, इसलिए अगर आपको कभी भी टेस्ट देना है तो हमेशा पिज्जा खा के जाओ? नो, it is not true. Why? Because it is an individual's perception. So I cannot argue using my perception. It is not a fact. It is what I think is true. Should India have a nuclear power? No, because in my opinion, nuclear power leads to something. Now, ये मेरा perception है. I cannot convince you because I think this is true or false, right? So if some argument is given where they're talking about one individual's thought, then that may not be good. Similarly, an argument based on an example or analogy is comparison, right? An argument based on example or analogy is never a good argument. To explain, let me take an example. So let me first ask you a question. I think everybody sitting in this session has a smartphone. I don't even need an answer to that, right? In fact, I should ask kiske paas nahi hai. Practically, almost everybody has a smartphone. Now, the question here is, I'm sure some of you, if not all, may not have been given the smartphone just like that. Although there are some parents जो इतने दिलदार हैं कि बिना पूछे ही दे देते हैं, but I'm sure a lot of us may have had to convince our parents to get a smartphone. So for those of you who got a smartphone after you argued with your parents, can you tell me what argument you gave them which convinced them? What did you tell them which convinced them that they should give you a smartphone? Can you give me that? Can you give me one or two arguments which convinced your parents that you should be given a smartphone? Okay. So I've got, I know Shubhanka, I'm not saying anything. I'm silent. Silence को सुनाई नहीं देता. Silence सुनाई नहीं देता. Anyway, so, okay, I've got a few examples. Let me take them. So Yashvi says that the argument was studying online. So your argument would have been something like this. Okay, most of the classes are now being conducted online. And we also get all our assignments and timetable on WhatsApp, which is to be used on phone. So for that, we need the cell phone. If this was the argument, do you think parents would have been convinced? Is it a strong argument? If the child says that I need to study online, all my classes happen online, and I get all messages of studies online, so smartphone is necessary. Yes, logically and factually correct. It is definitely a strong argument, right? Now, Janvi Jeel says 90% in boards of 10th. And Aditya gives me the best reason of all. Aditya says, friend got it, that's why I should get it. Right? And I want to go with Aditya's reason first. And because that's a very classic example. 99% of mothers in India have a very standard response when you argue like this. Right? If you argue that my friend के पास mobile phone है, मेरे पास भी mobile phone होना चाहिए, do you know 99% of mothers in India का counter argument क्या होता है? ये dialogue तो हर माँ के vocabulary में है. 99% of mothers will be able to give me the same. Ansh is right. Everybody अंग्रेजी में बोल रहे, but मैं हिंदी में I'll give you this dialogue, right? वो कुएं में कूदेगा तो तू भी कूदेगा क्या? Right? Exactly that, right? Whenever you try to argue that I want this, I should be given this, and the example or analogy that you give is that because that other person has it, I should also have it. I'm sure most if not all the mothers have the standard response, to wo kuएं में कूदेगा तू भी कुएगा, right? And that's exactly why it is a weak argument. Just because somebody else is doing it does not give you enough of a power to convince why I should do it. वो कर रहा है तो हम क्यों करें? That is not a good argument, right? So I'm sure whoever tried to argue कि उनके पास भी है मेरे पास भी होना चाहिए would not have been successful with that particular argument. And that is called argument based on example or analogy. So did you understand what makes something a strong argument and what makes something a weak argument? Yes, chalo, badhiya hai, right? And why such examples? Because such examples will stick in your mind. So whenever you see an argument where they're saying, okay, that is doing it, so you should do it. Should India have compulsory military service? The argument, yes, because a good country like Israel has it. That's a weak argument. Why? Because they're trying to simply give an example or an analogy there, right? Okay. So once you have checked whether something is correct or not, whether it is right or not, you also need to check whether it is desirable or not. Desirable means, do you actually want this to happen? Right? Do you actually want this to happen? Like, I can have a question. Should cigarettes be made expensive in India? Should cigarettes be made expensive in India? The argument says yes, they should be made expensive. The argument is no, they should not be made expensive. Because if they are cheap, everybody will buy them, smoke them, and die. And the population will go down, and this will control our population problem. Strong or weak? The question is, should cigarettes be made expensive in India? Answer is no, because if they are not expensive, everybody will smoke, everybody will die, population will go down, and this will solve our population problem. Strong or weak? Now, if you take a look at the correctness of the statement, technically it is right. If it is cheap, then yes, more people will smoke. Yes, there will be deaths. Yes, population will come down. Technically it is right. Logically it is true. But do we want it to happen? Do we want people to die because of smoking, and because that's a solution to a do we call that as a solution to a population problem? No, we do not. So this is an example of desirability of a particular argument. Even if logically the argument is true, we will not argue like that because we don't want to argue like that. So an argument needs to be desirable. An argument needs to be wanted for it to be a strong argument. So after you have checked whether it is correct or not, also check, do you want it to happen or not? And of course, the last final step, connectivity of the argument and statement. Sometimes the argument will be very nice, very strong, very convincing, but it does not answer the question that is asked. It is totally misleading you in another direction, right? Or an argument may not be balanced. It may clearly show the bias of the speaker. So any argument which is not answering the question directly, which is too biased because of the speaker's opinion, such arguments are not strong. So any argument which is factually correct and which is desirable only can be a strong argument. In all other cases, it cannot be considered a strong argument. Are we together on this so far? Right? So I hope you got a basic understanding of what is meant by strong and weak arguments. But let's take examples to see how they are implemented, because theory se zyada we need practice. So let's take a look at the examples. So instructions are pretty clear, right? You are given a statement followed by two arguments. You have to decide which is strong, which is weak. Now, guys, here's how you do it. You will not answer the question after just reading the statement, because आपका answer is not needed. You are not trying to answer the question. You are trying to see the answer which is already given. Is it strong in argument or not? Right? So take both the arguments separately. Don't relate one with the other. Individually देखो strong है या नहीं है. So it is quite possible कि yes and no दोनों ही arguments एक साथ strong है. So don't assume कि yes वाला argument अगर strong है तो automatically no वाला weak होगा. नहीं, ये जरूरी नहीं है. It is possible that both yes and no are strong. It is possible both yes and no are weak. It is possible one of them is strong, one of them is weak. Also, it is not compulsory that both the given arguments have to be yes and no. It is possible that you are given two yes wale arguments, two no wale arguments. So यहाँ पे you are not trying to compare a stronger one. You are trying to individually find out is it strong or not. दूसरे को भूल जाओ, दोनों आर्गुमेंट को सेपरेटली देखो स्ट्रांग है या नहीं है. दैट्स इट. ठीक है, चलो. सो लेट्स टेक एन एग्जांपल, सिंपल वंस. Should India encourage exports when most things are insufficient for internal use itself? Tell me. Two arguments given, एक yes, एक no. Okay. Let's take a look at the first option. Should India encourage exports when most things are insufficient for internal use? First argument is yes, we should encourage it. Why? Because we have to earn foreign exchange to pay for our imports. Chalo, let's take a look at the logical correctness of this first. Do we need foreign exchange to pay for our imports? We absolutely do. And if we encourage exports, will we earn foreign exchange? Yes. And is it desirable to do this? Yes. So by that argument, first one definitely makes sense. So the first one is correct, right? We definitely need foreign exchange for imports, and we get this foreign exchange from exports. So we have to allow exports. Yes. So we should encourage exports. Yes, to true argument hai. Now let's take a look at the second one. It says, should India encourage exports when most things are insufficient for internal use? It says, no, we should not encourage. Why? Because even selective encouragement will lead to shortages. Now, logically take a look at it. If we selectively, and it does not, first of all, it does not say that everything is insufficient. It says most things are insufficient. That means some of them are sufficient, some of them may even be in excess. And selective encouragement means allowing some of them to be exported. So what's the problem in allowing those items to be exported which are there in surplus? It does not say allow everything. It says selective encouragement. So will selective encouragement necessarily lead to shortages? No. If we encourage only those items which are there in surplus in the country, which are there in excess in the country, then we are not going to have a shortage of that item. Second, is it necessary that even if there is a shortage, it is a problem for us? For example, let's take the example of cigarettes. We manufacture cigarettes. Now, is it necessary that first we have to satisfy all our customers? No. गवर्नमेंट कैसे भले ने अपने देश में कमी हो हम फिर भी एक्सपोर्ट करेंगे. ये तो डबल फायदा है. एक तो अपने लोग की जान हेल्थ विल बी टेकन केयर ऑफ. सेकंड, विल आल्सो अर्न मनी. So a shortage is not necessarily a bad thing. So there are multiple ways in which the second argument is not good enough. So the only argument which satisfies us is A, and hence the answer has to be A. Did everybody understand this? Did everybody get this one? Second is not necessarily true and it is not necessarily desirable. So the second argument is not necessarily a strong one. Only the first one makes sense. Any doubts you can ask, else I'll move forward with the next one. ठीक है जी, चलो, बढ़िया है, बढ़िया है. Moving on, next one. Should all the drugs, and drugs here means pharmaceutical drugs, है उसको heroin चरस गांजा मत बोलो. Should all drugs patented and manufactured in Western countries be first tried out on sample basis before giving license for sale to general public in India? Take a look at the arguments and say which ones. Most of us are indeed getting it right. Okay. So, should all drugs patented and manufactured in Western countries be first tried on sample basis before giving license? First argument says yes, because many such drugs require different dose and duration for Indian population, and hence it is necessary. Now, if a medicine has different effect on different populations, right? Indian population is different, right? We have different body types, right. Like Southeast Asian countries, China, they're called Mongoloids. In Africa, we have the Negroids. Then in Western countries, Europe, we have the Caucasians, right? And obviously they're different. So if a drug affects different populations differently, doesn't it make sense that first you should start try test it on a sample basis and only then release it to everybody? Obviously, right? So is the first argument strong? It is definitely strong, right? Because a drug does not have the same effect on everybody, so we definitely need to test it on a sample basis and only then it has to be given to the general public. So first one definitely true. Duja, did you get that? The first one is definitely true, strong. Second one, this is not feasible, it cannot be implemented. This is one of the worst kind of arguments. ये नहीं हो सकता इसलिए मना ही करना चाहिए. भाई क्यों नहीं हो सकता? Right? They are not giving you a solid reason why. They are saying it cannot, it is not possible, it is not feasible. But why is it not feasible? Why is it not possible? Right? And hence, second one is definitely not an argument, because it does not explain, it does not convince anybody. So only the first one. Okay. Duja Singh, that is only an example of India. Yes. Why do I need to have any other country then? Yes, it is an example of India. How does that matter? How does that make a difference? Because the statement is also about license for sale to India. There, the question is simply about license of sale to India. So yes, argument with argument without a logic is weak. Argument with an example, if it logically explains it. See, an example, if it contains logic, then it is not weak. An example, what I meant by example was, US में करते हैं तो इंडिया में करेंगे. This is the system followed in US, so this is the system to be followed in India. That is an example and analogy. This is not an example. This is the reason being. And where is the example here? Dija, I hope you got this. Here the question is, India में sale करने से पहले sample होना चाहिए कि नहीं? And they're explaining because Indians have such different requirements, so India में sample पहले करना जरूरी है. So it is very clearly giving you an explanation, right? So the first one, yes. Second one, no. A is my answer. Did everybody get this one? See, Aditya, example is, see, the example is correct, then it is a factual truth, right? So obviously it's correct. An example where you do not understand why this example, and that is simply comparisons. The example to hoga hi argument mein. But if the example is simply comparing two things without logic, then it is false. It is weak. If the example clearly makes you understand why they said yes or no, the core thing is you have to understand why. If the example answers the question why, it is correct. If it does not, it is not. Did you get that? Chal, badhiya hai. Moving on. Next one. Should India make efforts to harness solar energy to fulfill its energy requirements? And guys, here the wording is very important. Once we take a look at the answers, we'll understand why it is very important to pay attention to every word. And you obviously have to think logically, right? If somebody is making this argument to you, would you be convinced by it or not, is what the question is. And guys, one mistake which I believe a lot of students may make in this example is You will try to think of alternate arguments. You do not have to think of alternatives. You only have to consider, is this argument solid or not? Don't think of alternative argument. You can have multiple alternative arguments. That is not important. Is the given argument strong or not is the only thing which matters. Chalo. First, should India make efforts to harness solar energy to fulfill its energy requirements? First argument, yes, we should. Why? Because most of the energy sources used at present is exhaustible. Is it true? Whatever we are using at present is exhaustible. Yes, presently we are generally using coal and petroleum products, and yes, they are exhaustible. So, factually, it is correct. Desirability, if energy sources used at present is exhaustible, do we need to make efforts to harness something like solar energy? The answer is yes. Because do we need an alternate? Yes, if energy sources used at present is exhaustible, then harnessing solar energy will make sense. So the first argument is definitely strong. The first argument is definitely strong. Lot of you have given me that it is not. Why is the first argument not strong? It is definitely strong. If whatever I'm using right now is going to get over, don't I need a new source of energy? Yes, I do. So first argument is definitely strong. But take a look at the second one. It says, should I make effort to harness solar energy? No. Why? Because harnessing solar energy requires a lot of capital which India lacks. Eh? What kind? Just because something requires a lot of capital and I don't have enough, is that a good reason to say, koshish bhi mat karo? And here's where words matter. It does not say, should India harness? It says, should India make efforts to harness? So just because I don't have enough capital, is that a good reason to not even try, not even make an effort? पढ़ते पढ़ते मैं मेरे पास इनफ एनर्जी नहीं है, इसीलिए मैं पढ़ाई ही नहीं करूंगा. अबे कोशिश तो कर. So that effort, make efforts portion is very important. So the second argument, not necessarily good one. Just because it requires a lot of capital and you don't have enough, is not a good reason to don't even, not even make an effort. So best possible answer definitely has to be only A. Is everyone with me on this together? Because a lot of you did not get this one. Are we together now? Did you understand why the first one is strong and second one is not? Those who answered the other way around, I hope everybody got it. कोई doubt हो तो पूछो बिंदास. ठीक, चल. If you got, very good. We move on to the next one then. Should there be student unions in college or university? Student unions क्या होते हैं? That is bodies formed by the individuals where students union group banate हैं where they fight for rights and stuff, whatever. Point is this: should there be student unions in college or university? And again, your opinion should not be brought into consideration. The arguments need to be checked. A majority are not getting it. Ouch. Okay. Chalo. Let's take a look at it. Should there be student unions in college or universities? First argument says no. Why? Because this will create a political atmosphere in the campus. If there is a political atmosphere in the campus, how is that bad? Is it bad? Well, one thing you have to consider, that across the world, people say that college should be free from politics, right? Political चीजें academic institutions में नहीं होनी चाहिए, right? It's a universally accepted fact that if politics enter into universities, political पूरा atmosphere अगर political हो जाता है, it's not that individuals should not do politics, but पूरे college का campus अगर political atmosphere में गिर जाता है, then it affects academics, and that's a universally accepted fact. So is the first reason strong to say no to it? Yes, it is. First is definitely strong. Now let's take a look at the second one. It says, yes, there should be student unions in college universities. It is very necessary. Why? Because students are future political leaders. So students who are going to be political leaders will need some sort of training ground. So student unions in universities and colleges may serve as training ground. Yes. So is it necessary? Yes. So even this argument is true, right? So consider this. Both yes and no individually are strong arguments. And are they contradicting each other? No, they are not. Right? In general, political atmosphere जो होता है वो खराब है. लेकिन at the same time, it is not necessary that some students who are going to be future political leaders don't need it. Right? So it is not contradictory. Both of them are true for the at the same time. Like in general, political atmosphere भी वो create करता है. लेकिन at the same time, it is like ना हाँ कह सकते हैं ना कह सकते हैं. इसमें प्रॉब्लम ये है कि both of them are actually true. So what do we mark? We mark both the options. Now either or option हम तब मार्क करते when one of them contradicts the other, कि एक सही है तो दूसरा गलत है, दूसरा सही है तो पहला गलत है. If the situation is like that, then you can say either or. But here both of them simultaneously will happen. पॉलिटिकल एटमॉस्फेयर तो क्रिएट करेगा, जनरली गंदगी फैलेगी, लेकिन उसी टाइम पे जो पॉलिटिकल लीडर्स बनने वाले हैं उनके लिए तो ये जरूरी है, राइट? सो इट इज नॉट कॉन्ट्राडिक्टरी, इट इज ट्रू. बोथ ऑफ देम विल साइमल्टेनियसली हैपन एंड हेंस बोथ ऑफ देम इज ट्रू. Dhruvi, who decides whether being political is in bad light? It is what we call as what is generally universally accepted. Universally, do we think that having a political atmosphere in an academic institution is good? It's what we call as what common people accept as a truth. Like respect elders, no scientific fact, but we accept it. Yes, we should respect elders. उसी तरह college campus पे political atmosphere नहीं होना चाहिए. There is no scientific fact behind it, but it is universally accepted. Shivam, both of them are here. Both of them are correct. Both the arguments are strong, and hence, yes, both of them are to be taken as strong. Shivam, yes, here both the options are in fact correct, and hence E is the answer. Did you get that? And of course, that's why we practice it. See, initially you will not be able to distinguish between the arguments, and that's why we have these. See, अगर पहले ही पता होता तो मैं session ही क्यों लेता, right? You would directly write the exams. It is because it is confusing in the beginning that we do a lot of practice. So slowly and steadily you will get a hang of what is actually a strong argument and what is not. ठीक है? चलो. Next one. Should India, अगेन शुभंकर, क्लासिक मिस्टेक विच आर मेकिंग, मैं 3-4 बार पहले भी बोला है, स्ट्रॉन्गर या वीकर आर्ग्यूमेंट, आई एम नॉट मेकिंग अ कंपैरिजन बिटवीन द टू आर्ग्यूमेंट्स. Individually you have to say, see, am I a tall boy? I can be 4 feet and still I am taller than a 3-foot person. But is a 4 feet person considered a tall person? No. But is a 4 feet person taller than a 3 feet person? Yes. सो आपको कंपैरिजन में स्ट्रॉन्ग वीक नहीं देखना है, आपको सिर्फ इंडिविजुअली देखना है स्ट्रॉन्ग है या वीक है. शुभंकर, वीकर मेक्स हैज नो प्लेस इन दिस. स्ट्रॉन्गर एंड वीकर आर्ग्यूमेंट्स नहीं देख रहे हैं हम कंपैरिजन में नहीं देख रहे हैं, हम स्टैंड अलोन देख रहे हैं. अ 4 foot person इज अ शॉर्ट पर्सन, बट अ 4 foot person विल बी टॉलर देन अ 3 foot person. तो मुझे सेकेंड स्टेट कंपैरिजन का नहीं देखना है. डिड यू गेट दैट? I hope you understood that portion. ठीक है, चलो moving on. Next one. Should India give Kashmir to Pakistan? Again, patriotic बन के मत सोचो, logical answer सोचो. Yes, Yashvi. तो यहां पे let's see. Should India give Kashmir to Pakistan? First argument, no, Kashmir is a beautiful state. It earns a lot of foreign exchange for India. Let's first examine the validity. Is Kashmir a beautiful state? Absolutely. Right? It is a Jannat Haminas. So this is heaven on earth. Even history has clearly said that Kashmir has always been considered beautiful. So there is no inaccuracy there. It is perfect. Does it earn a lot of foreign exchange for India? Yes. So if something earns a lot of foreign exchange for India, then is that a strong reason to say we should not give it away? Absolutely. So the first one is definitely strong, right? Now comes the second one. Should India give away Kashmir to Pakistan? Yes, this would help settle conflict. Think about it logically and look at the desirability as well. First of all, will giving Kashmir to Pakistan settle conflicts in reality? Do you really think that पाकिस्तान को एक दिन जब हमने कश्मीर अगर दे दिया तो वो पंगा करना बंद कर देंगे? एंड लेट्स अज्यूम कि हाँ कश्मीर हमने पाकिस्तान को दे दिया, उन्होंने पंगा करना बंद किया. Then we also need to find out the desirability of the argument. Do we want to give Kashmir away to Pakistan? और यस किसी ने लिखा ना तो डंडे लेके मारूंगा मैं. राइट? व्हाई? आई एम नॉट टॉकिंग patriotically or emotionally. Today you give away Kashmir to Pakistan saying that this has solved the conflict. What prevents China tomorrow from having a conflict with us over Uttarakhand and Uttaranchal? What prevents Bangladesh from making the same type of conflict in West Bengal and Odisha? What stops Sri Lanka from making the same type of conflict in Kerala and Tamil Nadu? वो उनका यही थॉट प्रोसेस होगा ना, इंडिया के साथ कन्फ्लिक्ट करते हैं तो इंडिया तो वो स्टेट दे देता है, चलो अपने भी कन्फ्लिक्ट करते हैं, इंडिया अपने को भी स्टेट दे देगा. डू यू रियली थिंक इट इज गोइंग टू स्टॉप द प्रॉब्लम? सो द सेकंड ऑप्शन is not actually a logically correct option, and even if somewhat you think it is logically possible, it is not a desirable option. Right? Exactly. Kriti says, what prevents Pakistan itself from asking Punjab and other states? Very true. Right? So it is not a guarantee that this is going to solve the conflict. So logically also incorrect, desirably also incorrect, and hence only the first option is true, not the second one. Are we together? Did we understand? The first option is true, not the second one, and hence option A. Are we together on this? Yes, बढ़िया है. चलो, moving on. Next one. Should cottage industries be encouraged in rural areas? Okay, I'm getting mixed responses. ठीक है. First argument. Yes, we should encourage. Why? Because rural people are creative. रूरल पीपल की क्रिएटिविटी के साथ कॉटेज इंडस्ट्री के एनकरेजमेंट का क्या लेना देना है? आई एम वेरी क्रिएटिव, सो एनकरेज मी टू डू बिजनेस है. क्या लेना देना है? माई क्रिएटिविटी, हाउ डज इट गिव मी एन आर्ग्यूमेंट फॉर एनकरेजिंग एनीथिंग? So technically speaking, the first one makes no sense. Why should an industry be encouraged? Because people are creative. Because cottage industries may or may not depend upon your creativity, right? If the question was, should the industries based on their creativity be encouraged, to theek hai, because they're creative, I can say yes, encourage it. But in general, just because they're creative does not give me a logic on why cottage industries need to be promoted. So first one, nah. Second, this would help to solve the problem of unemployment to some extent. If you encourage cottage industries, does it actually solve the problem of unemployment? Fully, no. But to some extent, definitely yes. Logically, it makes sense. And do we want to solve the problem of unemployment to whatever extent? Again, the answer is yes. This is also desirable. And hence, can I say that cottage industries are to be encouraged in rural areas? The answer, yes. And hence B is the right answer. A lot of people seem to think both are strong. But think about it. Just because rural people are creative is not an argument on why cottage industries are to be encouraged. What is the connection there? कोई connection के लिए it is not. It's a superfluous argument. You need more explanation to convince why this answer is there. So it cannot be a great answer. Is everybody with me on this one? Is everybody with me on this one? Yes? Badhiya. Chalo. Moving on. Next one. Should young entrepreneurs be encouraged? I think this is relatively easy. Most of you will get this one. Should young entrepreneurs be encouraged? Yeah, almost everybody is getting this one right. Simple, la? Okay. Should young entrepreneurs be encouraged? First argument, yes, they will help in industrial development of the country. Is it factually correct and desirable? Absolutely. Strong, yes. Second, they will reduce the burden on employer market, both factually correct and desirable. So I don't think there is any difference of opinion here. I think everybody answered the same, right? Both the given arguments are individually strong, and hence E. I think there is no trouble there at all. Are we together on this one? I think everybody understood this. Chalo. Next one then. This was relatively simple. I don't think there is any confusion on either of the two arguments. Next one. Should all annual exams up to standard 5 be abolished? Should all annual exams up to standard 5 be abolished? I'm sure some of you are thinking कि काश हमारे time पे true होता. And this is actually going to this may take place in fact this year because of current conditions. There's a lot of speculation that only 10th, 12th exams may be taken by boards and all the other standards may not have exams. But again, state-wise, it is different. Anyway, which argument? Chalo. First argument says yes, it should be abolished. Why? Young students should not be burdened with such exams which hampers their natural growth. Now, believe it or not, there has been research which says that the pressure of examinations is actually preventing certain students at a young age from developing at their natural pace. Do we want students to grow at their natural pace? Yes. And is it true that this may burden them? Yes. So in that case, should it be abolished? Absolutely a strong argument. So A, yes, it does require you to know a little bit, but that there has been such a study. But yes, the first one is true. Now the point is, what about the second one? The second one says, no, the students will not study seriously as they will get automatic promotion to the next class and will affect them in future. Is this true? Common sense tells us that yes, it is very much possible that when the students are not facing an examination fear, then they will not take things seriously. And it's simple. जब तक एग्जाम का डेट अनाउंस नहीं होता है तब तक तो एवरीबडी टेक्स क्लासेस लाइटली, लेकिन जैसे ही एग्जाम का डेट अनाउंस होगा कि बेटा इस साल क्लैट इस तारीख को है, आईपीएम इस तारीख को है, बिलीव मी सडनली लोग जाग उठते हैं कि यार ने पढ़ना चाहिए. इफ देयर वाज नो एग्जाम फियर, most students will not even study the subject. क्या पढ़ के क्या करना है, right? So both these conditions can simultaneously exist, right? In some students, natural growth is hampered because of the exams, but in the other students, at the same time, seriousness is seen lacking. So both of them individually strong and both can coexist at the same time, and hence both the options are strong. Both these, yes, Kriti, exactly. See, both type of students, not all students are the same. So in some students it hampers the growth, for the other students it makes them dull. So either both, yes and no, both of them simultaneously strong. So neither of the argument can be taken as weak, and both are true at the same time. It is not as if they are contradicting each other. At the same time, both the conditions it can create, and hence both of them are simultaneously strong arguments. Did you get that one? Got it? Yes. Chalo. Moving on to the next one then. Should Indian scientists working abroad be called back to India? Should Indian scientists working abroad be called back to India? Think about it. Logically think about it. Majority is getting it right. Very good. एक दो गड़बड़ मार रहे हैं, but majority is right. Okay, let's take a look at it. First argument: yes, they must serve the motherland first and forget about discoveries, honors, facilities, and all. क्यों भाई? क्यों? मदरलैंड को क्यों सर्व करना चाहिए? डिस्कवरी ऑनर फैसिलिटी को क्यों भूल जाऊं? It is a very patriotic statement. It is a very emotional statement. But unfortunately, emotions don't work in arguments. It is not a logical statement. Why should someone serve the motherland first, right, and forget discoveries, honors, and facilities? And secondly, just take a look at it logically. Just because somebody is working abroad, does it mean that they are not serving their motherland? Just because somebody is working abroad, can it be said that they are not serving the motherland? And do you have to be in India to serve the motherland? No, it's a very emotional type of argument, right? It's a fool's argument. So first, definitely not true. The interesting one is the second one. Second one says, should Indian scientists working abroad be called back to India? It says no. We have enough talent, let them stay where they want. And some of you think that this is correct. But let's put it like this: if you have enough money, would you say that you don't want more money? Just because you have enough of a resource, does it mean that we will refuse all extra resources? Can you ever have enough of talent कि नहीं, इतना talent है मेरे में, talent भरा, इससे मुझे ज्यादा चाहिए ही नहीं? How can you say that you have enough talent, right? And even let's assume that you have enough of something. What's wrong in having more of it? So, saying they should not be called back because we already have enough talent is not a strong argument, right? This argument is not strong. You can give me some other reason, but this reason is not enough for me to say no. And hence, I will say that neither one of the two arguments is actually strong. Are we together on this? Neither one of the two arguments is actually strong enough. Yes, I think most people would have got this one. Chalo. Next one. Should we scrap the system of formal education beyond graduation? Formal education is education which you have in schools, colleges, universities, right? Graduation is bachelor's and master's. So should we scrap, should we do away with the system of formal education beyond graduation? Chalo. First one, yes, it will mean taking employment as an at an early date. Now, for some, this may seem like it's a good argument. कि employment जल्दी होगा तो अच्छा है. But why do we need it? Why, do we actually need to have employment at an early date? Well, for some people, yes. But for many people, having employment at a proper age is fine. If you're well educated in a subject and you get a proper employment, yes. Is employment so important that we actually need to do it as quickly as possible? Right? Formal education को खत्म करके employment जल्दी करो. Is that necessarily a good argument? No, it is not. Right? So the first one does not seem to make much of a sense. Second one, it will mean lack of depth of knowledge. If we scrap system of formal education, it will mean lack of depth of knowledge. Is it true? Yes, because actual deep knowledge of any subject starts only after graduation. Bachelor's and master's level education only gives you enough knowledge to be able to perform well in the professional world. But deep knowledge about any subject comes only after basic graduation. It only comes at a research level. That's why PhD, postdoctorals, they're all called research level education. After graduation, they are. Is it important to have depth of knowledge? Absolutely. Research के बिना दुनिया आगे नहीं बढ़ सकती. So is that a strong argument to say that we should not scrap? Absolutely. So only the second one is strong. The first one is not. Are we together on this? Manush, I didn't get your argument. Which one you're going with? Which one? First, or is that an argument for the first one or the second one? Manush says that people don't get even employment even after graduation. Again, Manush, you are not supposed to take other arguments into consideration. Right? You have to look at this argument and says, is this strong? इसके अलावा भी ये होता है. That's a completely separate argument. हमको दूसरे arguments नहीं देखने हैं. हमको देखना है कि जो आर्ग्यूमेंट यहां पे दिया गया है इज दैट स्ट्रॉन्ग और नॉट. ठीक है? आई होप यू गेट दैट. फाइन. चलो नेक्स्ट वन. Should there be an upper age limit of 65 years for contesting parliament, legislative assembly elections? Means should upper age limit means age of retirement. So should there be a retirement age for politicians? Which one, guys? Very few people are getting this one. Very few people are getting this one. Most of you are giving me the wrong answer. Okay. Should there be an upper age limit of 65 years for contesting parliamentary, legislative assembly elections? Its first argument is yes, there should be a limit. Why? Because generally people above the age of 65 lose their dynamism and willpower. Okay. Generally is the keyword. कि हाँ, आम तौर पे 65 के ऊपर के बुड्ढे जीने की चाह खो देते हैं, डायनामिज्म, एक्टिविटी, एक्टिव नेचर खो देते हैं. बट इट इज नॉट always true for all the people. Generally people, but some of them may not. So if some of the people are still active and dynamic after 65, why should I prevent them from entering into parliamentary or legislative assembly elections? Right? Just because most of the people are not there, why should I say nobody should? It's like saying most of the people cannot run 42 kilometers. So there should be a ban on marathons. नहीं भाई, लाखों में एक बंदा अगर मैराथन दौड़ सकता है तो हम उनके लिए कंपटीशन रखते हैं. राइट? जस्ट बिकॉज मोस्ट पीपल कैनॉट रन, आई डोंट से नो टू मैराथन्स. सो majority of the people may not be dynamic, they may not be active, but that is not a good reason to say that there should be an upper age limit. So the first one is not strong. The first one is not strong. Second, lifespan is so increased that people remain physically and mentally active. There should be no upper limit because lifespan is so increased that people remain physically and mentally active. So just because some people can, देयर शुड बी नो, बिकॉज हर कोई लंबा जीता है तो कोई अपर एज लिमिट ही नहीं होना चाहिए भाई. इट गोज अगेंस्ट व्हाट इज यूनिवर्सली एक्सेप्टेड. बिकॉज देन इफ दिस इज ट्रू, तो इवन रेगुलर एम्प्लॉयमेंट में भी कोई अपर एज लिमिट नहीं होनी चाहिए. देयर शुड बी नो रिटायरमेंट एज. बट देयर इज अ रिटायरमेंट एज. व्हाई? Because even though people live long, we need people to retire so that the younger generation gets a chance at the jobs. So just because हम लंबा जीते हैं does not mean that I should be fighting elections, right? I should also have a good, first of all, I should be qualified enough to be fighting those elections. And second, just because people are long, they can keep on doing till death, is against what we know happens in society. So neither one of them is actually a strong enough reason for us to say yes or no. Is everybody together with me on this one? I hope everybody got this. कोई confusion हो तो पूछ लो. Right? Yes and no. दोनों को simultaneously I can give arguments. I hope everybody understood this one. Right? Chalo. Moving on. Next one. Should new big industries be started in Mumbai? Majority getting this one right. Very good. Chalo. Let's take a look at it. First one. If new big industries are started, will they create job opportunities? Obviously. And do we need more job opportunities? Yes. First one, true. Second says, should new big industries be started? No. Why? Because it will further add to the pollution. Is it true that new industries की वजह से pollution बढ़ेगा? Yes. And is it true that we don't want pollution? Yes. So even this is true. And can they coexist at the same time? At the same time, job opportunities भी बनती हैं, लेकिन pollution भी होता है. They are not contradictory opinions. And hence, in this one, my answer definitely has to be E. I think most of you got this one right. Simple था. Yes. I think most of you got this one right. So there's no confusion. I'll move ahead with the next example then. Next one. Should high chimneys be installed in industries? First argument, yes, it reduces pollution at ground level. Which one? Now, this is a bit tricky. This one is a bit tricky. That's true, Kriti. That's why I always say take them separately. Don't, you have to free your mind from one of the options while going on to the second one. Don't associate the two options. Take them separately. See, should high chimneys be installed? First argument, yes, it reduces pollution at ground level. If the chimney is very high, it leaves all the smoke at a higher level. Then does it reduce pollution at ground level? Yes. And do we want it to reduce pollution at ground level? Yes. Is the first argument strong enough? Absolutely true. First argument is strong. Yashvi, first argument is strong. Now take a look at the second one. Should high chimneys be installed in industries? No, because it increases pollution in upper atmosphere. Now, many of you might be tempted to say this is also strong. कि हाँ यार अपर एटमॉस्फेयर में अगर पोल्यूशन इंक्रीज करता है तो नहीं होना चाहिए. बट देन लुक एट द डिजायरेबिलिटी फैक्टर. ठीक है, अगर आप कहते हो कि हाई चिमनी इंस्टॉल नहीं होना चाहिए क्योंकि ऊपर एटमॉस्फेयर में पोल्यूशन करता है, तो उसका मतलब है कि जो धुआं ऊपर जा सकता था वो अभी नीचे छूटेगा. सो टू प्रिवेंट पोल्यूशन इन अपर एटमॉस्फेयर, आर यू ओके विथ पोल्यूशन एट ग्राउंड लेवल? Do you mean to say that no, upper atmosphere should not be polluted, so don't install high chimney? But what is the result of that? If there is no high chimney, then the pollution happens at lower level. So do you mean to say that it is okay to have pollution at lower level, but definitely higher level पे नहीं होना चाहिए? पंछियां मरनी नहीं चाहिए, इंसान भले मरे. Right? Logically, upper atmosphere pollution is bad, but desirability may, because the alternate is pollution at ground level, which is bad, so you cannot say this is a strong argument, and hence only the first one is strong enough. Are we together on that? Did you understand? Only the first one here is actually strong enough. Thoda logically we have to think. Somebody says नहीं नहीं नहीं, पाकिस्तान में बाढ़, अगर इंडस का पानी बहुत गंदी तरह से बहने लगा और हमने डैम का दरवाजा नहीं खोला तो पाकिस्तान बाढ़ में बह जाएगा. Somebody may say नहीं नहीं नहीं, पाकिस्तान बाढ़ में नहीं बहना चाहिए, डैम को मत खोलो. लेकिन भैया डैम को नहीं खोलेगा तो इंडिया मरेगा. So in that case, so the second argument is actually not a strong argument because of desirability, and hence A. Either or कैसे है? Either or. Pollution at ground level increases pollution in upper atmosphere. Yes and no. Are they contradicting each other? Aren't they the same thing actually? They're not. Shubhankar, think about it logically. Technically, they are not contradicting opinions. They are the same opinion. Second को transform करोगे तो it becomes one. When you say no, it is not actually contradictory. Do you get that? They're actually the same thing. Think about it. Give it a thought. Contradictory means एक होगा तो दूसरा नहीं होगा types. Here it is not. ठीक है? Second one can never be true. The second option can never be true in this case. C कब मार्क करेंगे? Either और कब मार्क करेंगे? When both the options are correct. Here the second option is not at all correct. I hope you got that. And remember, to be safe, mostly exams में either or वाला option questions नहीं देते. They generally don't give questions of, they don't even include the option of either or in most exams to prevent this. And C is a very rare option. ठीक है? चलो, next one. Does India need so many plans for development? Chalo, let's take a look at it. Nothing can be achieved without proper planning. Now, that is a universally accepted truth. It may seem like a grand statement, it may seem like just Gyani statement, but actually think about it. It is very much true. Yes, nothing can be achieved without planning, right? So, because that's a universally accepted fact, the first one, that India does require so many plans because nothing can be achieved without proper planning, is true. Now, second one, India, do you mean to say India does not need so many plans because too much time, money, and energy is wasted on planning? Do you think time, money, and energy which is spent on planning is actually a waste? No. Practically speaking, it's wrong. Planning actually saves you a lot of time, money, and energy, right? You can plan and spend some time, but it will actually save you a lot of time, money, and energy when it resolves. And again, this is through past cases, this is through observation. We know this. So we cannot say that too much time, money, and energy is wasted on planning. So only the first one is actually logically correct. Is time ever waste? Kriti asks, can we assume that when the second statement says time is wasted on planning, we look at it as opposed to execution? First of all, do we say time is wasted on planning? Is planning ever a waste of time? Is time that logic? I mean, factually, that is incorrect. We don't say time is wasted on planning. Too much time. Yeah. No. Just because too much time is, even if you think it is too much time, what would you do? Spend extra time on planning or not plan at all? Even if I want to say lesser of the two evils, you feel that a lot of timing, too much time is being spent on planning. So which would you prefer? Not planning at all or spending that extra time? Shubhankar, extremity of options is never taken into is not taken into. I have not mentioned it so far in arguments. And again, if it's an extreme option, then it has to be eliminated, right? And that's precisely what we are doing. So even if you go by the extremity principle that anything extreme is not good, it still works here. Because if you feel that too much money is actually an extreme thing, then that's correct. It cannot be true. Did you get that, Shubhankar? Even if you consider that extreme options are not correct, it still works in this case. Kriti, that's what I'm saying. Do you think too much time is spent on planning? And is it necessarily a bad thing? Even if you say too much time is spent on planning, so what? Is it undesirable? First of all, is it true that too much time is spent on planning? Logically think about, right? Desirability to baad mein aati hai. First of all, it needs to be factually correct. Is it factually correct that too much time is spent on planning? Shubhankar says, I didn't understand the logic behind A. Shubhankar, it's a universally, we should respect our elders. What is the logic behind that? Do you agree that we should respect our elders? Yes. What is the logic behind respecting elders? None. It is a convention which is followed, right? So it's a universally accepted fact. It may not be logical, but even if people universally accept it, it is still taken into consideration. So, first of all, logic says, common sense says that without planning, you can't achieve anything. But even let's put logic aside, isn't it accepted that proper planning is always required to achieve something? Shubhankar? Yes. Kriti says that B can be true. First of all, I said two things need to be taken into consideration. One, whether the given argument is actually correct. And then desirability. Let's first take it the correctness of the argument. Remember step 2, 4 things for correctness, 6 things for not correct. Is it correct that too much time, money, and energy is wasted on planning? Is it true that too much time, energy is wasted on planning? If it was true, we would not have any planning commissions. Kriti, you think that too much time, energy, and wasted on planning, is that a universal truth? That whenever you're planning something, you spend too much time on it? Exactly, not a universal truth. And that's what I said. Either it has to be logically correct or it needs to be a universal truth. Now, how do you say that too much? In some cases, yes. In some, but even if so, let's take it like this. If always too much time was wasted on planning, then to I say don't plan. Okay. And let's put that aside. But if in some cases too much time is wasted, is that a good reason to say don't plan at all? This is not universally true. But so in that case, I cannot say because of it, you should eliminate. And even if too much time is wasted on planning, what is better? Wasting much time on planning and having a good outcome, or not planning at all? Which one would you prefer? Let's assume it is a universal truth that yes, too much time is wasted on planning. Even then, what would be better? Not planning at all or wasting that time on planning? Yeah. So too much time is wasted. First of all, it's not universally correct. That itself helps me eliminate, right? And then of course the desirability factor. Did you get that? I hope you got this, right? Either way I can negate it. Either way I can negate it. ठीक है. चलो. Should articles of only deserving authors be allowed to be published? Ah, Kriti, correct. Yeah, most of you are getting this one right. Very good, very good, very good, very good, very good. Do, what is do? I didn't get you. What is do? Yashvi, do you mean D? No, no. Okay. Should articles of only deserving authors be allowed to publish? First argument is yes, only deserving authors should be allowed to publish. Why? Because it will save a lot of paper which is in short supply. Huh? If paper is in short supply, if paper is in short supply, is that a good reason to say that only deserving authors should be allowed to publish? If paper is in short supply, how does it matter? Even if there is no paper, we can still publish, right? Even if there is no paper, we can still publish. What has paper anything to do with publishing, right? Because nowadays paper is not the only medium to publish. So even if paper is in short supply, you can still allow, you can publish articles. So first argument doesn't hold any water. First argument makes no sense. Are we together on this one? The first argument is out of question. Let's take a look at the second argument. It says, should articles of only deserving authors be allowed to publish? They say no. No का मतलब क्या है? You should not allow only deserving authors to be published. You should allow all to be published. That is what this is. And why are they saying that you should not discriminate? It is because it is not possible to draw a line between deserving and undeserving. Isn't that true? How do you judge what is deserving and what is not? How do you judge who is deserving and who is not? Isn't it true? Who is deserving of being published? Who is not deserving of being published? That is not something which we can decide. And when we cannot decide, then how do we say only deserving can be published? So the second argument is definitely strong. Did you get that one? Second argument is definitely strong. Did everybody get this one? Yes? Okay, chalo. Let's take another one then. So the answer to this, only the second one is strong. I hope everybody understood. The answer to this is only the second one is strong. Okay? Chalo. Next one. Should colleges be given the status of a university in India? I hope you know the difference between a college and a university. A college is a single institution, right? It's a single entity. A university is a much larger thing. Colleges, they fall under universities, right? And it is the university which has the authority to give degrees and diplomas. Colleges can't give you degrees and diplomas. Universities can give you degree. So different colleges, they are all affiliated with a university. Like you have different schools affiliated to a board, right? Schools भी एग्जाम लेते हैं, लेकिन जो एक्चुअल सर्टिफिकेशन एग्जाम होता है वो तो बोर्ड का होता है. So like that, universities are like the boards for individual colleges. So should the colleges be given the status of university in India? First one, it says yes, colleges should be given. Why? Because colleges are in a better position to assess the students' performance and therefore the degree will be more valid. Why are colleges in a better position to assess the students' performance? यूनिवर्सिटीज भी तो एक सेंट्रल एग्जाम जो लेती हैं, उसमें आप जो परफॉर्म करोगे उससे आपका असेसमेंट किया जा सकता है. हाउ आर कॉलेजेस इन अ बेटर पोजिशन टू असेस योर परफॉर्मेंस? No, if it's a written exam, even universities can do it. And in fact, universities will do it better if they don't know you. Bias nahi aayega. So to think that colleges are in a better position to assess the students' performance is wrong. And just because they can assess you better, they should be given, they can give their degree. How does that make any sense? So the first option is actually not a strong one. And second, colleges should not be given a status because it is utopian. Utopian means too goody goody to think that there will not be nepotism and corruption in awarding degrees by colleges. तो ये तो इवन यूनिवर्सिटीज के लिए ट्रू है. नेपोटिज्म एंड करप्शन तो यूनिवर्सिटी लेवल पे भी हो सकता है. और फिर यूनिवर्सिटीज को क्यों अलाउ करते हो? अगर आपको नेपोटिज्म एंड करप्शन का डर है तो वो तो यूनिवर्सिटी लेवल पे भी हो सकता है. और यूनिवर्सिटीज तो फिर भी डिग्री देती हैं. सो दिस कैन नॉट बी अ गुड रीजन व्हाई कॉलेजेस कैन नॉट बी अलाउड. So neither one of the two options is actually a strong one. Did you get that? Neither one of the options is actually technically a strong reason to say that they should or should not be, and valid at the same time. So D. Are we all together? Are we all together? Guys, am I audible? Yes. Okay. I hope you got this one. Chalo, let's take one last example for the day then. Should prestigious people who have committed crime unknowingly be met with special treatment? Prestigious people is basically VIPs. So should prestigious people who have committed crime unknowingly be met with special treatment? Okay. First one. It says, yes, they should be given special treatment. Why? Prestigious people do not commit crime intentionally. हैं? कौन कहता है कि कोई वीआईपी बंदा है तो वो कभी भी जानबूझ के क्राइम नहीं करेगा? इनफैक्ट unintentional, see, what has the status or your prestige anything to do with whether you commit a crime or not? First one, common sense dictates is not true. Common sense says that first one is not true. So first to gaya. Second, it is our policy that everybody is equal before the law. Is it our policy that everybody is equal before the law? Answer is yes. Our constitution says so. Our various laws say so. Yes, it is our policy that everybody is equal before the law. And if everybody is equal, can you give special treatment to some people? No, you cannot. So the second argument is absolutely strong. And hence, B is the right answer. Is everybody together with this? Yes. Is it true that we have a policy that everybody is equal before the law? Yes, we definitely have such a policy. And because of that, is it desirable that they should not be given special treatment? Absolutely true. So only the second argument is a strong one. Did everybody get this one? Yes. Okay, guys. So we are done for the day. In case of any doubts or any queries, you can hang around and ask me the questions. If you are done, you may exit the session. Obviously, I'll be sending the PPT, the PDF form by end of day today. I hope everybody is completing the exercises from the books as well as the online exercises which are allotted. And guys, please, at least one full length test a week from now. I've assigned a lot of mocks. I want everybody to do at least one full length test a week so that it helps us analyze your performance. And then when we start the one-on-one with each one of you for deciding which forms to fill, which colleges to consider, that data is very important for us. So if case there are any questions you may ask, else we are done for the day, you may exit the session. Yashvi, actual past year papers for BB are generally not available because none of those institutions put out their papers. You will get mock papers, you will get idea of what type of questions were asked, but the actual mocks, no, most of the colleges they don't release. So actual mock papers of the past almost impossible to get. You'll get mock papers of similar nature, but the exact paper, no. But the good thing is BBA papers are generally very standard. So even the mock model papers that you will give, most of them will be very close to the actual papers. So that's not an issue. They're very, very standardized. Even pen paper, Yashvi, even when pen paper tests used to be conducted, they would take away the question paper. They would never allow students to take the paper home. They will take away the question paper at the exam center. So the actual papers are mostly not available. Some institutions put out their past year papers like PDPU does. Some institutions like CLAT, they sell their actual papers. But most of the institutions like Symbiosis or Christ, the actual question paper is never released outside.